My name's Jim Weir. I live in the Shankill and I work for the BELB as a specialist youth inclusion worker.
I'm Lee, I'm 18, I'm a young person and I'm from New Dodge.
My name's Cooper, I'm 16, I'm Protestant and I'm from Highfield.
My name's John Sue, I'm a hip hop artist originally from Belfast. Moved to Manchester. I've wrote an album called The Troubles, which I talk about my family's experiences with the Troubles and how it's affected us, you know, as a family as well as a community and a nation.
When I think about community, I think about quite a wide definition. It is about the buildings, it is about where you grew up, it is all of those things, but I belong to a lot of communities. I belong to the Shankill because that's where I grew up as a child. That's where I played lots of games, hung about, went to school with friends, but I also belong to a youth community in the work that I do and the people that I connect with and the young people that I mix with. I also belong to a church community. I have a faith and that keeps me connected. I sing, so I would sing right across Northern Ireland and other churches. So I guess for me, community is more, not as much about the buildings and the layout of a geographical area, but it's more about the people and who you connect with and how you connect with them and, you know, where your place is within that.
Community means like where you're living on, and I don't know what else does it mean, Cooper?
Well, it's not, I don't think it's what it means. I think what it actually means is tell the whole community, but my point on community would be, I think it involves everyone who lives in the area of which my community is in Highfield, and I think the community centres and the likes of youth workers need to do more for the young people who's coming up, and I think it's like people with disabilities need to have the same opportunities as everyone. What do you think, Ray?
It's just, I don't know, it's like all the young people and all looking up to people like me, you know, coming in here and cross community and all, that's what I think, like.
Brilliant, lads, that's great.
I think different.
What does community mean to me? Community, well, the word community, it stands for common unity, and that's sort of what it is as well. It's having like a common ground with people that would live, I don't even know if you could even say live in a close proximity, because sometimes you can have online communities, you can have like a poetic community of people from all over the world. It's something that you have in connection with a group of other people that you can maybe unite somehow and like come together and build upon something. So there's lots of different types of communities, you know.
When I think about who makes up my communities, I guess again it depends on what setting. If it's in the Shankill, you know, I have family, they make up my community. I have friends, lifelong friends. You know, there's older people, younger people. There's young people people in that community that I admire and look up to. There's people in that community that I don't admire and don't look up to. You know, I think communities itself, just in that when you get large quantities of people, there's always people who act in a way that is good for everyone else and other people that act more negatively. When I think about youth work and the youth community, then I think about probably over the last 2 years I've begun to work with Section 75 groups. So that community has got so much wider than I ever thought it would. I connect now with young people from Eritrea, from Somalia, from Sudan, from Palestine, from India, from Poland, just a range of countries across the world who are very diverse in terms of faith, very diverse in terms of their values, their cultures, the food that they eat, the music that they listen to, and it is fascinating. It's a community that I'm still getting the grips with and getting to understand. I work with a lot of young Roma guys, and even just finding out just the whole kind of way in which the Roma people have kind of moved right across the earth, and you know, how they are accepted and not accepted in so many different ways is just fascinating. So for me, that kind of community and youth is amazing, and I love being part of it.
I think like youth workers now in the community and young people, and where I come from, Catholic area, but we live very close to a Protestant area, which is Tigers Bay, and we would do like cross communities with Tigers Bay and the Shankill. The Shankill would be close to us too. So we're right in the middle and we're doing cross community stuff now. Cooper, what do you think?
No problem. Cheers,
Well,
mate.
I think communities made up with older people. I think it must be elderly people, you know, you have parents, youth workers, and there's paramilitaries. Mine would be mostly Protestant. However, there are people with different races. There's Philippines, Chinese people. So there is a wide range there. But I think it's most of the young people should be working with youth leaders to make sure that they're having a good youth. However, I think people should be working together to make sure elderly people also enjoy their last few days together and make sure there's things for them to do within the community.
With the question, who makes up your community, I would say it's more like, for me personally, I am a member of a lot of different communities. You know, I live in Manchester, I'm in the music scene in Manchester, they're a community of mine. I am constantly in Belfast working, and I see them as a community. I do poetry workshops and they're a community. So the people that make up my community are, I have different communities I belong to, so it's my common ground with these people that makes me part of their community. So for example, because I'm a poet, I class other poets as part of my community. If I'm a rapper, I class other rappers as part of my community. And if I'm a socialist, I believe in social, like people need to come together and share, then they're part of my community. So everyone that has a common belief system in place, no matter what it is, I would say they are part of your community.
In terms of whether or not my community includes everyone, I guess I'll have to kind of think about this in one main area, and probably the place I grew up in, the Shankill. Does it include everyone? No, it doesn't. And it doesn't for lots of reasons. You know, unfortunately, the conflict that there's been in Northern Ireland for so long means that a lot of people don't necessarily feel safe living in the Shankill. You know, it's still largely an orange community, and as such, then, you know, we don't have the same kind of diversity there. Even in terms of other ethnic minorities, there are ethnic minorities in the Shankill, which is great, but probably not the same level or percentage that you would have in other parts of Belfast, and I think that's a shame. And I think there's a number of reasons. The Shankill gets a real bad rep for being a place that's dangerous to live in, a place that's hostile to lots of people. I don't find that. It's not that there aren't those issues there are, but I think the Shankill is a good community, it's a vibrant community, it's a friendly community. And I think it would probably take a bit of confidence on maybe some people who are more diverse to kind of set their foot in there and begin to live there, and I think that would change things drastically. And I hope that does continue. You know, Northern Ireland as a whole is becoming so much more diverse, and I feel people should have a right to live wherever they choose to live, regardless. We still have so many visible peace walls and a lot of invisible peace walls, and I think probably the biggest barrier is fear itself, fear of being accepted, fear of accepting other people, and I think that happens right across the board. But I'm hopeful, and I would like to think that maybe if you ask me that question in another decade or in a couple of decades, if I'm still around, if I'm still part of any community, that I would be able to say that yeah, it does have everyone in it.
I think it includes everyone. Like there's a few wee hoods, you know, hanging about down my way, but the youth centres now and all over the place try to get them out and try to get them involved in youth work and stuff like that, you know, to get them off the streets. And there's been a good result like over the years. Cooper.
I actually think the community doesn't fall for everyone. You know, the likes of the local community centre would have things running for young people. Like your homework clubs after school, would maybe have wee workshops during the week. Also, they have bingo for elderly people. However, there's also the likes of people from the Philippines or Chinese. They're invited to all these events, but they feel that they're not wanted at them. So I think it could work on improving that there. Like things would be like some issues would be maybe children playing football outside their doors, like kicking the ball, and the people wouldn't go around and tell them to move on. I think that would need to be worked on.
Again, is everyone involved in your community? It's a paradoxical question, because it's like if they are in your community, they are in there because of a common sense of belief that they have, or a thriving on poetry. So yes, they would be involved, but in talking about in general, like a community like an area, an area to live. Of course, not everyone's part of it, and that's where it lies in what is a community, because a community isn't just a place you live. Because nowadays, like when I first moved to Manchester, there would be street parties on the streets. They would all bring out the tables, and there was a real sense of community. Nowadays, they don't even know their next door neighbours. So that's not a community. Their community nowadays would probably be on Facebook, their Facebook community, or their Twitter community, or an online, or go into a type of club, go into a club or a nightclub or a pub. These are their communities, and you become a part of whatever community you want to become a part of. So that's why I've, like, one of my next door neighbours in Manchester, he's an old man, but his whole life he's been obsessed with the council, and he feels like he's a part of his community and everything. Whereas people my generation were shut out from that. We don't feel a part of that community at all. We don't fit in with like society in terms of politics or in terms of the education system. We don't really see that as our community. So that's why we're against it. But we form our own communities, such as gangs, such as the paramilitary, such as anything that you could find a bit of belonging to. And that's what a community is. It's a natural way for humans to come together, and that's what it is. And is everyone involved in it? Yes and no. You're involved in whichever community you decide to become a part of, but you're not necessarily involved in a community that you were born into.